Hello everyone, today I bring to you a game called This War of Mine, a game by Polish game developer 11-Bit Studios that came out in 2014 and currently has a very positive rating on Steam. I'll issue a warning, this isn't a game with a faint of heart. If you come in hoping for a jolly light-hearted experience, this isn't for you. I played This War of Mine 4 years ago and it was undoubtedly one of the most harrowing games I've ever played. It stuck with me after completing the main campaign, and after returning to it to try out the DLC, I found out it hadn't lost any of its bite. This game is different in how it paints such a vivid picture of the less glamorous sides of war. This isn't a first-person shooter where you are boots on the ground soldier gunning down enemies to save the day, or a top-down RTS where you're commanding an army in search of conquest. This is a game that focuses on the lives of the unfortunate civilians caught up in a war, how it's affecting them, and their efforts to survive. You start with 2 to 3 people in a place of disrepair they're currently calling home, a shelter from the elements as well as the gunshots and explosions. Each character has a bio with a little bit about them, a unique ability like sneak quietly, handyman, or bargaining skills, among many more. The bios slowly update as more things happen to them as the days go by. On the portraits they also have their moods, afflictions and conditions. These display the character's mental and physical states, showing levels of hunger, illness, injuries and sadness. You can get to where your characters are healthy, well-fed and happy, but honestly for me it didn't happen until I was near the end of the game. Most of the time was spent yo-yoing between very hungry and starving. You'll quickly find out that food is a scarce resource in this game. Unlike in some other games where finding a big sword or shiny new piece of gear would be cause for celebration, here simply finding food is enough to elicit a big wave of relief when you search a container. Even in early game when scrounging up some supplies, finding your feet, and barely scavenging enough to keep your people alive, you can be raided in the middle of the night, with burglars taking vital supplies, adding to the already weighty sense of hopelessness. Once you realise how tough things are, you start to feel guilty when looting other people's areas, especially if they aren't armed militia, just other people trying to survive. It distills a sense of guilt at having to steal from others, although at the same time once you've been raided a few times, the guilt slowly chips away as you become more jaded, justifying your actions by doing what you need to survive. Signs of NPC life on different floors shows up as red circles, to show where the person is currently walking. On my run through I chose to steal from a priest's cache of supplies, desperately looking for medicine to heal one of my survivors who was sick. The NPC saw what I was doing and started a fight. Needless to say, it didn't end well for him. Unlike in other games, killing NPCs carries a heavy toll. Despite retrieving the medicine, my character who had killed the NPC now had fallen into a deep state of depression of what he had done, first refusing to follow orders, and eventually leaving the settlement altogether. If a person is at any of the extreme ends of the negative effects, they will start to move slower when not scavenging, which can be an issue if you get caught. Even if they don't get caught, if you take too long or aren't out of the area by a specific time in the morning, your character will come back injured, or maybe not come back at all. The night phase plays an important part in this game. It is where you choose to scavenge for much needed supplies, guard your settlement, or rest for the night and reset any tiredness you may have built up. Scavenging is where you go out to other houses, gas stations, airports, pharmacies and hospitals. If you're lucky, the places will be deserted and you'll be free to search the place and loot until your bag is full. However, a lot of these places are occupied. The hospitals are usually staffed by exhausted doctors and nurses, as well as patients in beds, and a few guards patrolling the halls. In these public buildings, the game shows a clear difference in what is okay to search through and what is considered stealing. Whether you go through with stealing or not is up to you. Some buildings have armed occupants which will open fire and give chase as soon as they see you skulking around their house, stealing their things. Often the best course of action is to simply run from the house if you are discovered. The days phase of the game shows a zoomed out view of the house, usually featuring rooms that need to be cleared of the piles of rubble that have accumulated. Clearing these out by hand can be a very slow process. Time feels like an important resource in this game. There is a clock constantly ticking away in the top left of the screen. The majority of the days start at 6 AM and end at 8 AM, filling you with a need for productivity, leaving nobody idle, either clearing out rubble, constructing items, or adding to the heater. Leaving me to the next plate you must keep spinning. Temperature control. There is a temperature gauge next to the time in the top left, showing the current heat level of your base. If this dips too low, your people will get ill, and if left untreated, you will get worse and eventually die. To combat this, you must keep your heater topped up with books and wood, with every stack adding about 4 degrees to the temperature. Even though wood is a more common resource, having to keep the fire burning to maintain a decent level of warmth leaves you feeling like you never have enough. Every few days, a person will show up at your door looking to trade goods with you. This can be helpful, but it often feels a little imbalanced given how much you need to trade in order to get food or medicine, leaving scavenging the much more reliable way of keeping your survivors alive, although the traders can help in a pinch. The soundtrack is very somber, befitting the tone of the game, adding to the heavy atmosphere. The game isn't a graphical powerhouse either. With the 2D style and slow pace of the game, it should play easily on most rigs. It doesn't require much input. The game can be played mostly with just a mouse, with simple, clear animations and expanding item screens. If you're looking for a memorable war survival strategy game that will stay with you, I highly recommend This War of Mine. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you like what I'm doing here, feel free to leave a like. Hit subscribe if you'd like to stay with me and see more. Drop a comment if you'd like to chat. I'll see you next time.